Welcome back to the Pro Football Hall of Fame for our latest edition of our Before the Snap series here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. If this is the first time you've tuned in for this program, first off, thank you so much. We're going to learn a lot today about all the different careers in and around the NFL. Today, featuring one of our own here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Mr. Eric Welshenbaugh. And we'll get into his bio and his introduction here in a second. If you tuned in with us before, again, thank you so much. You guys are in store for another excellent program. Our mission here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame is to honor the heroes of the game, to preserve its history, to promote its values, and to celebrate excellence together. And those values we promote are those of commitment, integrity, courage, respect, honesty, all of which make our Hall of Famers great football players, great men on the field, but most importantly, going to make great men off the field, great dads, brothers, sons, members of their community, members of their team, and ultimately can make you a great employee of any organization that you end up in. These values pop up in so many different things that we talk about nowadays. You'll be surprised how many times they pop up today and just how important they are and what we do here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but also to make you the best student and then one day employee of an organization that you can be. Before we do get started, I do have some thank yous to pass out. First and foremost, Eric, thank you so much for being a part of the program today. Thank you for everything you do for us here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We know there's so many things we can talk about today. All the different things you do in your production world and video and photos and editing and so many different things. So first, thank you so much for giving time out of your day to be part of the program.
Absolutely. Honored to be here, Jake. Thanks, man.
Secondly, I'd like to thank our teachers, administrators, educators, professors, anybody that shared this program with their students today. We're excited to be just a small part of your students' learning experience this school year. And lastly, as always, students, thank you so much for tuning in. This program doesn't take place if it weren't for you. It's your opportunity to ask questions to an industry professional today who's been around, been in so many different things, not only here at the Hall of Fame, and we'll dive into some of the other great experiences that Eric has got to be a part of. And you can learn from him, learn how he got there, things he does on a day-to-day basis. So this is your opportunity to ask questions, start to build your network. As always, be the first. If you're the first student out there to ask a question, not to put any pressure on Nathan, who's watching on this, but we want to make sure that your question is part of the program. So as always, put your name, the school you go to, and then go ahead and ask your question. If you don't have a question, that's okay. If you just want to listen and learn, we're okay with that. But still, let us know where you're watching from. And again, put your name and your school there in the live chat. And Nathan is out there watching for any questions that we have for the program today. So as I mentioned already, we are lucky and grateful today to be joined by our own Eric Welshenbaugh. And just like the NFL was born right here in Canton, Ohio, lucky enough to be the executive producer of HOF Productions and is on a team that's produced several huge events like the Merlin Olsen Super Bowl Luncheon, the former Stay of the Hall, and sponsor-driven programming like Centene Strong Youth, Strong Communities, or Johnson Controls Chalk Chalks or recaps during our Enshrinement Week powered by Johnson Controls. He's also been lucky enough to interview and edit interviews of Hall of Famers, NFL legends, and many other celebrities. Eric went to the University of Dayton and studied visual communication design. Learning how to tell stories on a canvas or just a piece of paper challenged him to constantly think outside the box. Started as a graphic designer in advertising for the Hall of Fame in 2015, but stepped into a couple positions editing videos for George Veras, an 11-time Emmy winner for CBS and NBC, who works here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, as well as a traveling musician. You might have heard of him, Yanni. George is an excellent member of our team here at the Hall of Fame and does so much great work for the Hall of Fame and all of Eric's team. Those roles helped Eric into places he didn't think were possible, such as producing youth and high school All-American football games, tennis on CBS Sports, and most recently, a producer for the Summer Olympics show, Tokyo Tonight, with Kenny Mayne and Carrie Champion on Peacock. So we mentioned he gets to do a lot of really cool stuff. So we're happy to have our own Eric Welshenbaugh today. Eric, welcome to Before the Snap.
Thank you. Honored to be here. And you guys do a great job with all these programs. I've had a blast watching not just our staff, but other people from around the NFL and seeing what they do and how it's different from what we do and what their focus is and, you know, what drives them as opposed to us. And it's a great program. So I'm glad to be here, Jake.
Well, we can't thank you enough for being part of the program. We'll say it a few times today. But, you know, just to start everything off, you know, we like to kind of set the stage on what a day-to-day job looks like. So day-to-day life of somebody who works here at the Hall of Fame in HOF Productions, what is that job like for you and some of the things you handle on a day-to-day basis?
So not one day is the same. I'd say I would walk into the hall and have no idea what's going to come at me. I'm probably going to get, 4 or 5, hey, you've created this video in the past. Can you tweak it a little bit for sponsorship or for, a marketing sales video, something like that, and send it to us. Those things are easy. Or if we have a more long-term project and partner like Centene, earlier this week, we went to Crenshaw Middle School and did a shoot with like 15, 16 kids. And it was for No One Eats Alone Day. And so for that, we had 4 cameras, there's a ton of audio. We were pulling, only certain kids can be shown, only certain sound bites can be used, and it has to be approved by a PR team and all this stuff. So when you get on a project like that, then, that's what you're going to be working on. And that is what I am doing currently. And then there's like when you're waiting for feedback, then you can do stuff in between. But I get a lot of requests from all over the building, marketing, sales, social media, to do birthdays. We have 362 Hall of Famers now, and either honoring when they were born, born on this day, or if they're still alive, their birthday, or when they passed away. Like, Walter Payton was young, Gail Sayers just recently, and John Madden was the big one. So then we're also tasked with making obituaries for all of those guys. And that's really, I think, how we honor the guys the best is when, we can reflect over their career, and it's not just focusing on one thing, which is like, it's very easy to do in football. It's like, on this day, the Raiders won a Super Bowl, or John Madden, brought out the turducken for the first time. But then there's a little more pressure added when he passes away, and it's not just sports news, but it's on CNN and Fox, and it's national news. So we're putting, together his whole life story in a pretty concise fashion. But I think pretty much every day is different, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I think doing a lot of the same is a little monotonous, but there's certainly times when I'd say you get like 5 requests from a sponsorship department, and then you have to be on a phone call with NFL Network or with ESPN about the enshrinement ceremony coming up this year, or things that are happening throughout the year. Like now we know the class of 2022, but leading up to that, all the Gold Jacket Contender shows. So when those things are thrown in, it's a little harder to be creative when you're trying to listen on the phone to 20 different people on a conference call. But always working, and love the different aspect every day. It's a lot of fun.
Was living in that world, that video editing world, was that always something that you kind of wanted to do, or were there other directions that you kind of saw yourself going and eventually kind of not settled in, but ended up in the role where you're in today?
I don't know that I exactly pictured it this way. I as a kid always wanted to work at ESPN, for Sports Center. I wanted to do the This Is Sports Center commercials. I thought those were the funniest things on planet Earth, and still are. And that's why Sports Center is dying, because they don't do that anymore. But I when I was making my decision to go to college, it was like I can't really do anything, with math or a ton of reading involved. I was an okay student, but like if I had any chance in school, I was like, I have to go like in some art direction. And University of Dayton had this mixed program between graphic design and like other multimedia things, and like guerrilla marketing and stuff like that, where you do billboards and then you do phone advertisements at the same time. So I never exactly pictured it would be like this, but I'm very glad that it got to this point. And uh, I have always, been in love with TV broadcasting, videos in general. I think, uh, I mean, I love movies and, binging everything on Netflix and Paramount and what everyone else is doing. But um, I I think it's a weird time that the average attention span is probably like 5.5 seconds or something. Like that's a little scary for a TV network producer. So I think I'm lucky that I'm at least young enough to see how that's going to change and what the streaming world is going to look like and what live broadcasts will be like. And yeah, I mean, at the University of Dayton, never would have pictured it, but couldn't be happier that I'm in this current spot.
We mentioned it reading in your bio there. When someone's on social media scrolling through Twitter or Instagram, and they see the video pop up and it's all these great highlights and everything, everybody goes like, oh, it's just a great looking video. But at the core of that, you mentioned, you're telling a story and you have to tell a story in less than 60 seconds. And with someone's attention span, it's only 5 to 8 seconds. So how important was it for you to kind of, know you had the passion for that art side, the graphics and the video, but still be able at the end of the day to know that you have to tell a story with every piece that goes out?
Yeah, I think for me, I was very lucky to have graphic design first and then go into video, because I think it's like, as a graphic designer, you're working with a one flat image. You have, nothing is going to move. And so pretty 9 times out of 10, people will only focus on one thing at a graphic that you're looking at. So they catch, the biggest text and whatever, has the biggest shimmer or whatever to it. And that's your attention getter, that, hey, entrapment tickets are on sale. And that's all we wanted to get. And then, there's subtext that says a bunch of other stuff. But I think getting that into the video world is very similar, because I learned from some of our colleagues at Bleacher Report that in the first 10 seconds of any video that they produce, they don't have any like speaking audio. It's only music, and it's specifically graphics. So they're telling, like they do a version of the knock on the door for us. So they'll say the knock on the door, and that's 3 seconds. And then it's, knock, knock, knock. And, but they're assuming that the listener is, because they know how well their metrics are, is listening on silent, and they're just looking at it through their feed. Then the next 3 seconds are presented by Ford, and then the next 3 seconds, here's how it's going to change this year. And then after 9 seconds, then they show somebody speaking. And I think I slowly learned that on my own through painful trial and error, because having a mentor, you mentioned George Veras, who's wonderful, and he has really taught me the importance of building a story, having beginning, middle, and end, and not just the message that you're trying to portray, but like the emotion that you want to get out of people. Are you trying to inspire them? Are you trying to make them cry? Are you trying to make them happy? Are you trying to make them use their wallets to buy something for you? So I I think I've had the luxury of doing because I've worn a lot of hats around here, just from commercials to little biographies on Hall of Famers. So the transition from graphics into storytelling, I think, is pretty natural, and it almost scares me that that's where the future is headed. And I was reading something about on Hulu that they're getting shorter trailers, like just when you hover over something, like they don't want to have over a 10-second trailer for, uh, I don't think they have Seinfeld, but let's say they have Seinfeld. There's 20 seasons of that. How are you going to show that in 10 seconds? And they're also assuming that they're getting more mobile users that are on silent until they see something that they like. So you have to visually like it before you're going to commit to listening to the audio, which makes sense, I think, with this new generation of viewers and everything. And that's something for us that we have to tackle as a team, because if we have a 35-minute podcast with Jameer Howerton and he's with a Hall of Famer, it can be really hard to pick just 15 seconds out of that, or even a longer, like a NFL Network hour-long show, and they're like, hey, you can have 30 seconds to put on social media, but you have to choose it. Like, we're not going to cut something for you. And you're like, all right. So you kind of have to think through the process of, well, first, it has to be only visual, and then, grip them into whatever that emotion that you're trying to get out of them is. And then if they're like, okay, yeah, I could go for a good cry, then your audio, they'll click the audio on, and you need to make sure that it's perfect by, the 5th second or whatever in a video.
It's a lot to push into a small amount of time is what I got for that. And there's so much thought that goes into it. And that's, I think, the cool, unique piece, because, you have the luxury of, seeing the entire process. And then there's the tens of hundreds of thousands of people watching these 10-second videos. And you're like, well, yeah, it's only 10 seconds long, but it took 3 days to get that 10 seconds all into what we do. So I think that part of your job is really cool, telling the story in such a short amount of time. Nathan sent me over. We got a couple questions from our YouTube chat. So I'm going to throw it over to Nathan Martin, the Youth and Education Coordinator here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, with some questions from the students we got tuning in.
Yeah, Jake, thank you so much for sending it out here. And Eric, thanks for being part of the program. First question we have coming from a student is from Emily, a student at St. Cloud State University up in Minnesota. And Eric, Emily was interested, do you ever struggle with finding a balance between your work life and your personal life? And then do you have any advice on how to manage that based on your experience to this point in your career?
Yes, I have constantly had very big struggles with that. I think it's very easy to get lost in the work that you're doing, and most type of art people, if you're there's a little niche, a little something that you have, like a little bit of OCD or ADD or something, and I don't think I'm a perfectionist, but I definitely like before I leave or before, I go to a meeting, like I'll just set mini goals for myself to, hey, I want to get this done by this certain time. And obviously that doesn't happen all the time. So then you pick it up at home and it's, you spend 3 hours at home doing work and you're like, oh, wow, it's 10 o'clock. I should probably go to bed. And that's really not a very healthy thing to do. I think there's certainly exceptions. We have, our two biggest weeks here are enshrinement and the Super Bowl. And it's very normal to have a 12 to 14-hour day. But I think in when things are, business as usual, how I kind of helped myself was to, you know, literally deconnect from all screens. And it's, sometimes hard to find something that is like actually relaxing for you. And like, I don't know, I played video games for a couple years and I was still having like migraines and all kinds of anxiety and stress. But I think, when like as soon as my wife and I sit down for dinner now, I'll go plug in my phone and, leave it in another room. Same with my computer. And I'm, totally disconnected from, feeling, oh, did my phone just vibrate? Or, I wonder who emailed me, stuff like that. And getting to that point is very challenging sometimes because you want to impress, your boss or your client or whatever it is. But, I think you also need to be realistic with your own mental health and how that can affect your physical health too. Because if you're not fit mentally, which has happened to me a lot of times, it affects my sleep. And when I don't sleep, I'm not a very good person to deal with. I'm not a good teammate. And, then that starts to trickle down and affect, other people, how I'm writing something, stuff like that. So, truly taking care of yourself is one of the most important things. And it's how to disconnect from screens. And just why I mentioned about video games, because I was like, I haven't had migraines since I was like a freshman in high school or something. But then my doctor was like, well, yeah, you're staring at a computer from 8 a.m. until, 9 p.m. some days. And usually working weekends too. So, when you do have free time, make it for yourself that you're either outside, it's freezing here as it probably is in Minnesota too. But I wasn't much of a book reader and kind of forced myself to become one, and was just, picking up I like World War II history, and I picked up like 7 or so books, and I finished about half of them. But it's a nice way to disconnect from that, the feeling of always being kind of in like a fight or flight, like I need to impress, I need to impress, I need to impress.
Yeah, for sure. I think you kind of touched on the importance of one, like understanding yourself, like what works for you. For you, you're like, I knew for me, I had to get rid of the screens. And really for all of us, we probably could utilize less screen time. We probably spend too much time looking at our screens, but, books, maybe it's being outside, but just the importance of trying to find that balance. And I love how you were just vulnerable and honest that it was a process for you and it's something that you're still working on. So hopefully that answers Emily's question. Now, Typically, this program is geared towards, our college students that are looking to get into the sport industry, maybe some high school students, but we have an elementary school that's actually tuned in and watching the program today. So I want to kind of go rapid fire so the answers don't have to be real long-winded, but let's go rapid fire so we can get some of these elementary student questions answered from Miss German's class at Creeline Elementary. And the first question is, what has been your favorite project to work on?
The knock on the door, easily. You see the Hall of Famers get into the Hall of Fame crying with their family. It's the most emotion I've experienced in person for somebody else that I've never seen in person. I'm seeing them for the first time in their doorway. And yeah, that's definitely the coolest part.
Yeah, for sure. That's something that whether you get to work with that on a firsthand basis here at the Hall, it's always a really special time to see the content that you create and see those videos and the emotion that's captured. So knock on the door is really special. This is from Jada. What other kind of jobs, or what are the other job titles of the people that you're working with when you make a commercial or you're producing a video or a graphic? Who are the other people that you're working with within the department?
Great question. So in our department is relatively small, but we have talent, Jameer Howerton. So he's on camera. He worked for the Browns and the Jets. He also writes, and he'll voice stuff over for us. So, he's like our go-to guy for a lot of that. And then we have a handful of other producers who all hand some stuff off to get, can you search for this type of B-roll, or just like, video to go over top of what this commercial is. Can you do the searching for me while I'm working with Jameer to figure out the script? And two other video editors. One, is really good with animation, Jared Harrison. So we can bring him into stuff. And but I've also, pulled from one of our audio experts on, hey, this audio sounds like really stingy and buzzy. Like, can you throw some filters on it? Because I'm not an expert in audio. So I've reached out to plenty of people to help through that process.
Yeah, for sure. I think that just kind of hopefully opens the eyes to our students, regardless of age, of how many different jobs there really are just within video production out there. This is more of a personal question. This is from Maggie. Who's the person that inspired you to kind of get into graphics and video editing? You mentioned Sports Center, so maybe that's where you're going, but maybe it's completely different.
Yeah, I'd like to say it was one person from Sports Center, but I honestly can't come up with a name. I just love the concept of how they made commercials, their highlights, they're not top 10, like all that stuff growing up. I thought was pretty incredible, but I was easily inspired by a lot of athletes too. I think we're only 15 minutes south of Akron, where LeBron is from, and he was a huge impact in my life, and was like, I was just in like the perfect age to go to high school basketball games, like, wherever me and my friends wanted to go, basically. So I watched him through high school, and him getting drafted by the Cavs, I was 10, and it was, something that I had never seen from another athlete, and that he still does to this day, is, says he's just a kid from Akron. And he's always said that, I don't know where Michael Jordan is from, or, I don't know, other huge brand type of people, Cristiano Ronaldo, it's not like they delve into their hometown, but I'm very proud of where I'm from in Canton, and that he's very proud to be from Akron, was a big inspiration to me as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I know our elementary students, they probably have never seen those This Is Sports Center commercials. So they need to get on YouTube and look up some of those. One of my favorite was always with the crocodile hunter when he tackles the Florida Gator mascot. So there's all kinds of really, really good ones out there. Definitely get on YouTube and look those up. Do you ever get to work like on the physical football field? This is from Maggie as well. Or are you like in a building? Where are you doing your work from?
So 90% of the time it's here, like actually in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We have, offices that are just like normal, like a regular business. I have a couple of computers with faster software and editing stuff on them. But I do get to travel and go, for instance, to ring ceremonies, like our Hall of Fame president will give a K Jewelers Hall of Fame ring to a Hall of Famer that just got enshrined at halftime during a game of the Hall of Famers choice. So, and I've probably been to 20 of those. It's a blast to go on the field, and it's very, very overwhelming, and you feel very much like I should not be here, and like, why is no one questioning me that I can walk like onto the field like right at the second. But yeah, no, I've been on for that, and then during all of our events at the Hall of Fame weekend, I'm usually in the front pit for enshrinement to get some low beauty shots, and just with like an extra camera. But I'll be on the field for the Hall of Fame game and helping with coordination of, hey, this is when this commercial is going to run. This is when this video. Okay, let's bring our Medal of Honor recipients out. Sort of being a production assistant for a bunch of people in the NFL that run that production. And yeah, those are my two on the field experiences.
Yeah, for sure. I know that you get some pretty cool experiences in those ring ceremonies. I've only seen one, but they're pretty special to see. Just the home crowd celebrate their guy. Two more from our elementary classroom here. How many or have you got to work with the NFL teams directly, the other teams?
Yes, a lot. So we have a good relationship with I'd say 20 out of the 32 NFL teams, and from my sense, so getting footage passed back and forth to each other, like somebody will ask, hey, can we get some of that footage of some guy's Hall of Fame speech, and it's like, yes, is he coming in town for an event? And they always are doing something for the team if they ask for it. So then we'll ask in return, can you send us the stuff of what just took place? So I get to work with them a lot, and it's been really fun working just these past 2 years with social media and content gurus for NFL teams. And I mean, it takes an army of people. There's on the field for a game, there's probably 5 social media guys and gals, and I mean, they probably pay at least 10 photographers, and then separate videographers. So not anything that you actually see on TV, but all just like beauty shots and slow motion and stuff like that, so that they can have. And when that player makes it to the Hall of Fame, and we'll reach out to the team and say, hey, what kind of great things can you offer us? And it's only going to get better, because just in the social media age that we're in, but like with Calvin Johnson and the Lions, they provided us with some incredible content, and you know, they might not have the greatest relationship, but they still love Calvin, and so does, you know, every single Lions fan goes crazy for him. And we were getting a ton of great like behind the scenes stories, and you know, just quotes that he was given to their PR people and stuff like that, that they would just, you know, slide and give to us, that we could make as a graphic and say, you know, we'll tag the Lions, and hey, we have this exclusive quote from your Hall of Famer Calvin Johnson. So, and the more you do with that, and with the younger Hall of Famers that are getting in, certainly helps the relationships. And I think, you know, easily in the next 2-3 years, we'll have phenomenal relationships with every single NFL team.
Yeah, for sure. It's important for us, you know, here at the Hall of Fame, because we're working to honor the heroes of the game and preserve the history of all 32 teams. So the better relationship we have, the easier our job becomes. Last one from our students here. This comes from, I want to make sure I get the right student. This is from Carson. Who is the most famous person that you've met through your work? Doesn't even have to be a football player.
Right. I did get to meet Donald Trump. Came here for a after hours visit of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and there's very limited media and everything, and just our small little content team was allowed to be here. So I did get to meet him. You know, I guess I don't certainly.
I mean, that's up there, whether you like him or not. He became the president of the United States, so that's
right.
That's pretty famous.
Yeah, I hate to say, like, it's, you know, he's not, he might not be as famous as I'm thinking, but you know, yeah, exactly what you said, Nathan. If you don't like him, people are still talking about him. But you know, with a lot of Hall of Famers, it's been cool to meet. Like at a Cowboys game, I was in Jerry Jones's suite and got to meet Ellen DeGeneres. So if she is more famous to you than Donald Trump, then there you go. And George W. Bush was also there. But yeah, I think those are some of the bigger names. If I think of any more, I'll shout them out just at a random time.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hey, that's all the questions we have from that elementary class. I'm going to send it back to Jake right now, and maybe we'll have time to come back here and get another student question or two. But students, if you're watching, please, you know, we put Eric's information. You can connect with him on LinkedIn, but ask your question now. Let's ask the question during the program. We'd love to hear from you guys. But for now, back to Jake.
Thanks, Nathan. And thanks to the elementary school as well. Those are some awesome questions that you asked there. Thanks for so much for tuning in and watching today. You know, Eric, part of what we do, and Nathan mentioned that they're part of our mission here is honor the heroes of the game and to preserve its history. You know, at the core of what we do here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, we are a museum, you know, preserving the history of the great game of football. So we thought, what better way to showcase that than actually go out live to our museum and showcase something that you work a little closely on, and kind of talk a little bit about some of the things you do. So I'm going to throw it out to the Director of Youth and Education here at the Hall of Fame, Mr. Jerry Shockey, who's in front of a very cool exhibit we have here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Jerry, whenever you're ready, take it away.
All right, thank you, Jake. Eric, thank you. Perfect timing because we got fans in the background, actually. What perfect way to do this, and our fans display with fans behind us. So I want to welcome you guys to one of the more unique displays here. When we think about the 12th man, so to speak, you know, those great groups of fans, you know, Chiefs Kingdom, Bills Mafia, Raiders fans creating the Black Hole, and obviously being in Northeast Ohio, we know the Dog Pound. And so we have a very unique display here that's sponsored by Ford called the Hall of Fame. We honor some of those outstanding individuals like violator behind us that you see there, and you got a book that's written by him, and really you start seeing the inside of some of these guys like Violator. Not only is he a season ticket holder, but you can read that he's a diehard fan, but he likes giving his time volunteering to veterans and helping kids battle cancer. So we really get an insight into these fans, not only the passionate fans, but just passionate people about life. And so, Eric, I know you've had some experience with this particular sponsorship, with the production side of things. So can you give fans a little insight into, you know, what goes on with some of these productions, like with Ford Hall of Fans, and with some of the other sponsors we have, how does HOF Productions tie into those?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that there's fans behind you too. So just in that exhibit alone, there's actually a little button you can press, and a big screen shows you you get a minute to pitch yourself as why you deserve to be in the Hall of Fans. And every single one of those videos that's recorded goes into our video server. So we have a specific file of archives of all these fans, you know, pitching themselves, you know, hey, I've been to 5 Super Bowls, or, you know, I'm a long suffering Jets fan, or something like that. But it's a very cool process. I'd say, you know, it can also be done online. So we get tens of thousands of entries every year. It started in 2019, and, you know, still going on right now. So basically, the program is, you know, us and Ford trimmed down from, you know, let's say 40,000 people to 8, and there's 8 nominations. Well, we'll have, you know, if it's a Dolphins fan, we'll have Dan Marino go to their house, knock on their door, and say, hey, you're nominated for the Ford Hall of Fans. And then, you know, I mean, these fans are like, their faces are painted, like even not on game day, not in season, like just going a regular day to work. They, you know, have their Miami Dolphins colors on. And what, I mean, going inside of these people's houses is a little disturbing for how much memorabilia they have at most of these places. And you can look up some of the guys that are in the Ford Hall of Fans to see. And if you go on social, they share what their house looks like. And you know, I mean, we have been to a Cowboys guy's house that had, I think he has 800 bobbleheads, and like I didn't even know that was possible. They're not, you know, all Cowboys people, but they're all like Texas related. You know, this guy was born here, and he whatever. So, and you know, it goes as far as to, that's what their car is decaled as, with, you know, a Pittsburgh Steeler, that ugly shield they have on a black matte car. And one of our recent ones was the puppet lady, who has been in a lot of NFL commercials, and she just has little finger puppets that she makes for every game. She's a Chiefs fan, and then she'll make the opponent a new opponent every game. And I think she's been a season ticket holder for 25 years now. And we reviewed a couple guys this year, and one of the winners has been a season ticket holder for 39 years. So I mean, these are just the most like passionate, diehard fans in the world. And it's when someone cares about, you know, the game that much, it kind of it humbles us for sure, but it makes us you know, realize that, hey, you know, these people should be honored. One of our recipients 2 years ago was is a firefighter in Denver, and he has like all the official, and it's you know, regulated safety gear. but it's all Denver Broncos. And then he wears that to Broncos games and he sits in the front row. And he's run marathons in that, and he's gotten publicized several times, and he's, saved several lives. And it's always, fireman, I forget what his name is, but whatever it is. And I think when the Hall of Famer comes to them and knocks on their door, you can see how special it is to them. And like, oh my gosh, buying all of this stuff and, worshiping you guys on Sundays for years and years and years, just absolutely meant the world to me. And so that's a very cool program. And we do a ton of other stuff with Ford, but for the Hall of Fans, that's about it.
Well, thank you, Eric. And I know that Nathan heard that 800 bobblehead collection. He's got something to shoot for right now. We all know internally Nathan loves to collect bobbleheads too. So that gives you a mark to shoot for there, Nathan. But thank you, E. I appreciate it. Jake, I'll send it back to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jerry. And yeah, Eric, we've talked so much today about so many different projects that you worked on, and something we did with Mike Myers, our creative director here at the Hall of Fame earlier this year, also does a lot of graphic design. So I thought it'd be cool if you could maybe share your screen, maybe share a video project you're working on and talk about some of the things you've already talked about, how you developed it, kind of the way you set it up, and ultimately, what that final piece ended up looking like.
Yeah, sure. So these are a couple things I've been working on recently. We've been trying to get into the Instagram reels, or kind of the TikTok world, but without being on TikTok. So our Facebook stories, Instagram reels, any video that can be played vertically. And just for copyright, I won't play the audio, but these are all behind the scenes photos that I took at the Super Bowl. And it's to the song The Nights by Avicii. And so just these little marks down here are every beat that he has on every little part of an EDM song. I'm not sure what it's called. And so it's talking about these are the nights we won't forget, and being how proud our father would be and stuff like that. So I thought it was very fitting to do a video like this. And then it gets spaced out a little bit, so you have to make some of them last a little longer. And then there's 2 short ones here, and then a couple short. And just how basically the music drives everything. And as long as I get a good cut of music, I'm pretty confident that, based on where I mark it, it will work, not no matter what, but, pending that I have good enough photos to go in. And we also did one for the knock on the door. This is only 20 seconds, and we're still working out what the music would be like and graphics, but just getting their attention early. And okay, Hall of Famers are now knocking on the door instead of David Baker. There's a tear, and there's a big hug, another big hug, a push into the pool, and as most reels do, they either loop and repeat or end on the last frame. So I always try to make sure it's a fun one like that. And we also had a huge production at the Super Bowl called the Merlin Olsen Super Bowl Luncheon. And this is just content that I've given to our social media folks. There's about, I think there were 800 people in the crowd this year. But for the first time ever, because the crowd was selected early, or the class was selected early, we were able to actually interview all of the new class members. And I mean, people just ate it up. Usually every year we have all the finalists, and none of them are smiling or, they're all on pins and needles and very anxious. But this was a lot more relaxed, and they were telling jokes, and the crowd loved it. Unfortunately, we couldn't show it live because we were doing this, and this was in a social media window of when I said Bleacher Report made a knock on the door. They have the right to post it first before us. So we couldn't go live with the Merlin Olsen luncheon, but usually we do every year. It gets about 10,000 views, and it honors, this year it was, since the Super Bowl was in Los Angeles, it was 3 Los Angeles Rams, Jackie Slater, and then they unveiled this great portrait, and James Lofton was our host there. The guy on the left, this is Tom Mack. He was honored as well. And then Jack Youngblood. And there were I think there were 58 Hall of Famers that came to this year's. And it was a lot of fun. And these are just, quick, easy videos that I was able to put together while I was at the Super Bowl. But the only disadvantage of being on a laptop is that you can't have really enormous files to work with, because it'll just slow everything down. But this is kind of how Jim Porter came out, with his opening of the new mission that we have. And it was his, kind of coming out party to not just the Hall of Famers, but we have tons of sponsors and everything at this event. And this is one that, there's 5 different cameras. There's an audio guy. We have stage managers backstage, and communication there is very key, and it's one of the more fun shows, but also extremely stressful at the same time. So here's another vertical one, just of Hall of Famers kind of seeing each other on stage afterwards, and the guys that aren't in gold jackets are obviously the new class, because they'll get their gold jackets later this year. So yeah, that's about it, without playing any music. I don't want to get us flagged or anything on YouTube, but yeah, go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. It's kind of cool to look in, because like I said at the beginning, we always, as the end user, see the end line, or that final piece, and don't know how many layers or how many photos and videos are in there, or things stacked on top of each other, or cuts or edits. So I appreciate you kind of giving us an inside look there. About time we wrap up. A few more questions. I got one on YouTube, actually. I'll go ahead and ask this one. This is from Tommy. Kind of along the lines of, if somebody wants to get into a career in graphic design or video editing, what are some of the things they should look to do, get themselves involved in, classes they should take, or maybe different networking opportunities that they could have?
Yeah, so networking is the biggest key. It's not it is what you know, but the saying is, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And if you're looking to get into a business like that, it is definitely who you know and who can kind of help be a mentor for you if you start doing graphics and you end up not liking it. Like I had some classmates that switched majors during it, and they found their passion. But as far as like classes to take, I would highly recommend just staying on YouTube first. There are a ton of really good Adobe, either Photoshop, Illustrator, Dreamweaver, InDesign. It depends if you want to make books or really large prints or websites or editing photos, something like that. That I can really honestly be done mostly on YouTube. And so I wouldn't go out of your way to try to pay for a class that is very easily accessible for free. But something that will cost you is getting the software. But if you're a student, you'll get a student discount. And to just I would look for an overview of the programs that you want to do. If it's photo editing and in Photoshop, and you want to do like social media graphics and stuff like that, then Photoshop is for you. So you should look at adobe.com and see what prices they have for students and things like that. And as far as networking, I would tell you just keep practicing as much as you can once you get a program and once you start doing things. And then when I was in college, I was just reaching out to any and everybody around the city and University of Dayton. I had some really odd jobs. Like I was the graphic designer for the sociology and social work department. And I don't really know what either of those things are, but they love the work that I do, and I got paid to do it. So that was pretty cool. But then they led me actually to get an internship at Dayton Children's Hospital, which was, one of the most heart-wrenching but rewarding things I've ever done. And you just need to get your foot in the door at one place. And even if someone isn't giving you the relationship back that you'd like, walk around to other people and see what they're doing, see who they interact with in a day. And just be truthful. I love doing graphics. I love making books or whatever. I mean, if it's 10 people at some business, especially like on a university campus, someone is going to know somebody that they're like, oh yeah, my cousin's son does that. And then you can at least get a connection. Not that they'll get you a job necessarily, but just to say, hey, what's it really like being a website designer, and like how much code you have to know. And then I think when you start asking questions, then you're in the make a friend, and can I come shadow you type of thing. And there were a ton of good art galleries and departments, and a museum, all in Dayton, and they were all very responsive to emails. Sometimes older people won't respond to emails, and you give them a call and they are more than happy to talk to you. And they'll write down all your information and they'll give it to who they think is like the absolute best person to help a young aspiring to be designer, editor, whatever it may be.
Awesome. And I think that right there is a great way to wrap the program, a great piece of advice for those college students out there who are kind of looking to break into the industry, specifically within the graphic and video world. And, you talked and you mentioned a lot of the video and graphic side of things, but the principle there is ask out. Don't be afraid to reach out to somebody brand new. Don't be afraid to be told no, and take that leap to gain that experience. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. So I think that was a great way to wrap up this installment of the Pro Football Hall of Fames Before the Snap series today, featuring Eric Welshenbaugh, the Executive Director of HOF Productions. And again, Eric, thank you so much for being part of the program today and truly everything you do for everybody here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Thanks, Jake. This was a lot of fun. Appreciate it, man.
As we wrap up, as always, make sure you tune into all of our great work here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And now those videos you see from all of our Hall of Fame social media, the guy who puts those out and puts those together. So be on the lookout for all that. Subscribe, like, follow, whatever it might be. As Eric mentioned, Jameer Howerton hosts the podcast, The Mission, here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. If you're a podcast listener, give that a subscribe. Give us those 5 stars. Tune in to everything, all the great things that we have coming out from that platform as well. Next week, we're off next week. No program next Friday. So we're going to go ahead and we won't have anything, but the Friday afterwards, make sure you tune in. We'll be back to our regularly scheduled Before the Snap series. And again, as I said at the beginning, the game of football isn't just 18 weeks. For us at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, it isn't just a week in August or a week in February during the Super Bowl. There's so much great content out there, so much work to be done throughout every week of the season. And Eric is just a small part of that in the grand scheme of things, and a huge part of that, what we do here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So again, from myself, from our guest, Eric Welshenbaugh today, to Jerry, Nathan, all of our team here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, to everybody who tuned in today, thank you so much. We won't see you next week, but tune in the Friday after for our next Before the Snap series. So again, thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time.